I love hot hatchbacks, but in this world of cars, everything is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So in this video, I'm going to look at 5 small, cheap hot hatchbacks you can buy for under £15,000. How's it going, people? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another video. Yes, I like hot hatchbacks, but I really want a small one, probably in the future as a city car or something like that. So let's get straight into it. Don't forget that I'm in the UK, so prices in other countries might be different, and whenever you buy any second-hand car, maintenance, repairs, insurance, road tax, all that good stuff is important to remember. Let me know in the comments down below, do you prefer smaller cars or bigger cars? I actually really like smaller cars, I think they're really nice, but it just depends on what type of car I'm looking at. Let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, if this video gets 1,000 likes, I'll make the same video again at under £10,000 instead. Don't forget to hit subscribe if you're new here. Without further ado, let's get into the video. The VW Up GTI is miles slower than all the other cars on this list, but that doesn't take away from the fact that it's a pretty cool small hot hatch, and that's coming from someone that doesn't actually like the standard VW Up. It comes with a 1 litre turbocharged inline-3 engine that makes 113 brake horsepower, taking it from 0 to 60 in 8.5 seconds, which again isn't super quick, but this car is about more than 0 to 60 times. I see the Up GTI as being the closest modern day VW to the original Golf GTI, in that it's small in all proportions, simple in most ways, and ultimately focused on being a car that you can enjoy at pretty much any speed. It weighs around 950 kilograms, so it's properly lightweight, which helps with that fun factor. Many reviews and owners know it's one of the most fun cars you can own while sticking to speed limits, which is always a benefit for people that like to drive hard but don't like getting police attention. It also comes with a proper driver's 6-speed manual gearbox, which lets you bang through the gears to a pretty good soundtrack, although it's worth noting the Up GTI is one of those cars that plays the car's sounds through the radio to you, so make of that what you will. I've always loved the GTI formula with the tartan seat, sportier aesthetics and handling modifications like the lower suspension, and all that would have cost you around £16,000 for one of these brand new, which isn't too bad at all when you consider its main competitor is probably the Swift Sport, which costs £6,000 more and is slower to 60 by 6/10. Weirdly, despite the extra performance and other than the E-Up, the GTI is actually the most efficient Up available, with a combined 53.3 miles per gallon quoted by VW. This really is a great little car. These have held value pretty nicely, starting at around £11,500, with 15 grand getting a 2019 model with around 10,000 miles on the clock. Reliability on these is supposedly really good, but remember that this is a very new car still, so problems may be there in the future. Add on the fact that some owners have struggled with ride quality, and it's definitely worth taking one out for a test drive before you buy one. Next up is the most recent generation Vauxhall Corsa VXR, which is 2 seconds quicker to 60 than the Up, making it that much hotter. It has a 1.6 litre turbocharged inline-4 engine which puts out 202 brake horsepower, which will get it from 0 to 60 in 6.5 seconds. This was the second VXR or OPC to be released, as though there was the OPC concept car on the Corsa C, it was never actually released to the public. This generation came with more power than the previous generation and has an overboost function to give you extra torque where required. It also gets a new sportier, stiffer chassis with a special damping system which basically makes damping forces adaptable to the car to have better balance in different types of corners. It is of course the baby brother of the Astra VXR, and outside of those techie features I mentioned, the upgrades are not dissimilar to the GTI I just spoke about. Instead though, it gets the classic hot hatch formula of Recaro seats and the flat bottomed wheel, just in case you hadn't already realised it was a fast car. Around 40 to 50% of VXRs that left the factory also came with the performance pack, so do look for that option as it comes with a nice LSD to get the power down to the road properly, and if you have any plans to get it out on track, I highly recommend having that spec. It also gets larger Brembo brakes, slightly modified suspension and larger alloys to set itself apart from the standard VXR. You do get a bit more space than the Up from a practicality standpoint, but you do lose the fuel economy, with Vauxhall saying you'll get 37.7 miles per gallon, or reviewers saw more in the region of the mid-20s, which is more on sports car levels of economy, not ideal when fuel and living prices are so high. £8,000 a minute I could find these listed for, making it the cheapest car on the list, while for £15,000 you get a 2018 example with low mileage. mileage. Fortunately, the VXR has been pretty good on reliability so far, but owners do say they need to be looked after well, as many of them have been owned by people just looking to thrash them around. I wouldn't expect these to be as thrashed as the first gen, but still worth giving them a once over. Taking third on the list, it's the Ford Fiesta ST, specifically the Mark 8 Fiesta here in the UK, or the Mark 7 in many other places around the world. It comes with a 1.5 litre turbocharged inline-3 engine that makes 197 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 6.3 seconds. The Fiesta has seen some major changes from the first generation all the way through to today, with STs through most of its history, and this Mark 8 is a properly cool little hot hatch for the money. The engine was a brand new EcoBoost block, and like the VXR, it came with a performance pack to give you a Quaith LSD, which again I highly recommend going for if it's in your budget. That pack also comes with some trick bits like the ST shift change light and the instrument cluster, automatically turning your car into a race car, and launch control as well. Pretty sick for a car in this price range. Add on the fact that it had different driving mode selections that modify how the car feels to drive, from normal to sport to racetrack, and you can see this car was built to have many different purposes, and like other STs, it would be a ton of fun around the track. Don't get confused with these though, as in 2019 they also brought out a performance edition, which wasn't the performance pack. It wasn't fast or anything, it just got a bunch of extras that you'd usually have to pay for, like the performance pack and a Bang & Olufsen sound system and some other little modifications, plus the fact it only comes in a deep orange paint and gets its own alloys and adjustable ride height for those of you that love to get out on track. All of this together makes a really decent little hot hatch, which I think doesn't in any way sit in the shadow of the Focus as its older sibling. In fact, it's so good as a hot hatch, it literally won Top Gear's Hot Hatch and Car of the Year in 2018. £14,000 the lowest that I could find these listed for, but they are relatively new, so £15,000 will get a 2019 example with around 50,000 miles on the clock. Oil leaks, hesitant first and second gears, and some issues with paint on silver examples are the main issues I could find with these, but oil leaks should have been sorted under warranty. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. A reminder, let me know in the comments down below whether you prefer small cars or big cars. I'd be interested to hear. And don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe as well if you haven't already. It's free and you get 2 videos every single week. Just missing out on the tops, we have the Abarth 695, which is one of the more savage versions of the 500 Abarth. It comes with a 1.4 litre turbocharged inline-4 that makes 187 brake horsepower, taking it from 0 to 60 in 5.7 seconds. I've mentioned it in a previous video, but in general 695s are special editions like the Biposto, Yamaha and equivalent examples. I'm pretty sure you'll know at least a bit about the Abarth at this point, so instead let me talk about some of these special editions as I think they're worthy of note. The Tributo Ferrari is a super cool edition that Abarth developed alongside Ferrari engineers, featuring an automated manual transmission, special multi-section Brembo brakes, carbon back seats and a bunch of other cool features, plus the fact that it comes in Rosso Scuderia to really drive home the Ferrari point. Another is a Rivali special, developed alongside the luxury yacht company Riva, taking a lot of inspiration from their yachts, with the interior being probably my personal favourite of any Abarth. The final one I wanted to mention is the Tributo Maserati, of which there are just 499, and it comes in a very attractive Bordeaux red which properly slaps. I think that despite Abarth not being my personal favourite hot hatches, it's hard to not rate how good these little cars are and how exotic they can look with the right spec, and they definitely don't skimp out on materials, with nice leather, carbon fibre, wood and beyond used to make them feel as premium as possible where they need to. Add on the fact that they are known to handle really nicely, particularly out on our British B roads, and you can overlook the fact that they aren't really that quick. It also pains me to admit, but they do actually often sound quite good as well. These start at around £12,000, for £15,000 you're looking at 2017 model with around 40,000 miles on the clock. Infotainment systems have been a key source of issues on these, as well as a few other electrical gremlins. Some owners have complained about build quality not being good enough, but in general there's lots of positivity around the reliability on these. It's worth noting though that these are also fairly new, so being Fiats at their core, the future may be sketchy. Taking the top spot on this list is a car I definitely haven't given anywhere near enough love to on this channel, the Audi S1, with its 2 litre turbocharged inline-4 engine that makes 227 brake horsepower, taking it from 0 to 60 in 5.6 seconds. I might be getting ahead of myself here, but I roguely think that the S1 might be a bit of a future classic, obviously a long way off in the future, but in the future nonetheless. Of course, it's not on a level with the A1 Quattro, which we didn't actually get here in the UK, but I still contend that it's a properly cool little car, of which there aren't really any major competitors. It's an all-wheel drive small hot hatch. What else matches that? Add on the fact that it's the successor to the lovely Audi 50, which was the Audi equivalent of the original VW Polo, and I think it adds to my point, as the 50 is a really hard car to get nowadays and is a pretty expensive classic for what it actually is. It was indeed the smallest S car available when it was released in 2014 and only ran for 4 years, meaning numbers are relatively limited, and they've actually held value pretty well. I have seen in reviews that the limited number might make it a little bit more desirable than it actually is to drive, as some have complained that it doesn't feel as dynamic as other S Audi models, but it is the baby of the range to be fair. Plus, considering these cost half the amount of an A1 Quattro now and still offer you an S experience with their sportier interiors and exteriors and a wealth of specs to choose from, and I really think this is a really cool option and probably the one car from this list that I would personally have. £13,000 is the minimum that I could find these listed for, and for £15,000 you get a 2016 example with around 50,000 miles on it. Reliability is good on these so far, though some owners have complained about rattling from the engine bay on cold starts, and others have suffered electrical failures, most notably as a result of sensors. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, I'd really appreciate a like, so please do hit the like button and subscribe as well if you're new here. Massive thanks to the patrons, always has support, and to you guys as well for watching. I will see you in the next one.
Listen.